Mary J. Blige. Exactly 12 o'clock. It's the voice of Laguna, and welcome. Delighted to have you with us, no matter where you're listening from across the globe. We're glad to have you here. As all of you probably know by now, we talked about it last week. Rob Reiner and his wife were murdered by their son, Nick. And we tried to do as much of a tribute to Rob as we could. However, I just didn't have the motion picture information that our guest does this morning. We welcome Lauren Nesser into the studio. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hello, Ed. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to do this. The moment that it happened, I thought to myself, I really needed to talk to you about it because you are movie buff is not the word. You're an expert in motion pictures. So I thought, well, this is the conversation we need to have. The tribute that needs to happen has to come from you. So thank you for putting this together for us.
That's so kind of you to say. I am so excited to be here and chat about Rob.
Thank you very much. Yes, we know the circumstances behind the death. What were your first thoughts?
I was shocked. It's absolutely tragic and, something that no one ever expects to happen. But, no matter how abrupt or tragic this situation is, what's so great is that Rob has such an incredible legacy. And I really hope that his legacy stands out more than the way his life ultimately ended.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. And part of the healing process is you sitting in that chair and letting our audience know about him. I will leave this completely up to you from now on. So take us through Rob and his life and his motion pictures, if you would.
Well, thank you so much. As Ed said, I'm Lauren. I'm everyone's favorite intern here at the Voice of Laguna. And today we're going to talk about the life achievements and contributions of the incomparable Rob Reiner. As we discussed before, I felt it necessary to acknowledge the devastating manner of his and his wife's passing, and I hope to sort of juxtapose that devastation today with the lighthearted, sort of fantastical nature of his career. As a self-proclaimed cinephile, I'm a huge fan of all things Rob Reiner, from his acting to his directing and producing. But I think it's safe to say that even if you're not much of a movie buff, Rob Reiner has probably made your favorite movie, or one of your favorite movies. You've heard of them all. We're talking This Is Spinal Tap, right. Misery, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, When Harry Met Sally, and the list goes on. And I mean, goes on.
Right. I can't put my finger on a favorite one.
Seriously. Right. His career in the entertainment industry is so broad-reaching. He was not constrained to any particular genre, stock character, or storyline. But the through line that follows Reiner in his entire career is the heart that exists at the center of every one of his films. Many of you may already be aware of this, but the Reiner presence in Hollywood actually did not start with Rob. But in fact, it started with his father, Carl Reiner. I'm sure many people out there listening are familiar with his career. But
loved him.
He's so great.
Yeah.
But as someone born in 1999, yikes, sorry, I'm a child, I found it fascinating to learn about his success in the industry and how it ultimately influenced Rob Reiner's career in many ways. Carl Reiner was an actor, comedian, director, screenwriter. He did it all. Whose career lasted a whopping 7 decades. He was a huge part of 20th century television and helped define television comedy as we know it today. Yeah. He won several Emmys, directed many films, and he created The Dick Van Dyke Show, which is one of the most celebrated television shows of all time, which, side note, Dick Van Dyke just turned 100. Have you seen his morning workout routine on CBS?
I have not.
Oh, it's incredible. He's seriously life goals, Dick Van Dyke. He's there doing sit-ups. He's at 100 years old. He's amazing.
He was always one of the most pliable dancers and physical comedians. Just incredible.
Yes. Love him. Carl Reiner also closely collaborated with Steve Martin on iconic films like The Jerk. He was truly a giant in the world of entertainment. But going back to Rob Reiner, he had a seemingly complicated relationship with his father. In his later years, he talked a lot about how his father didn't really recognize his talent or comedic abilities until a colleague actually pointed it out to him. While he struggled often comparing himself to his father, he also idolized him in many ways. Here's Rob talking about that relationship with his father.
I was pretty much forged in this world of show business through my father. I idolized him. I admired him so much. I loved him, looked up to him, and I pretty much wanted to do what he did. And he tells a story of how when I was young, very young, I came up to him one day and I said, I want to change my name. And he was all nervous about that because he thought, well, having, probably the burden of having to live up to a famous father and bear the burden of that name, and, maybe I was trying to get away from it. And so he said to me, well, what do you want to change your name to? And I said, Carl. So I basically wanted to be him, and I've pretty much followed in his footsteps.
So, feeling inspired by the career of his father, eventually Rob got involved in theater and sort of flexed his acting chops and went on to get cast in the iconic television show All in the Family.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
And you knew when you were there.
Dance for girls and men were men. Mister, we could use a man like Herbert Hoover again. Didn't need no welfare state.
Everybody pulled his weight.
G.R.O. sour and great. Those were the days.
Now, this TV show was absolutely revolutionary and in many ways is still one of a kind. The show investigated through witty comedic moments the interesting generational conflict that was incredibly present in the 1970s. And FYI, if you haven't rewatched this show in a while, many of the main themes explored are still incredibly poignant.
Yes.
You can probably speak to this, Ed.
Oh my God, yeah. It is as fresh today as it was then, especially the political themes behind them.
Oh, absolutely. Reiner became widely known for playing Michael Stivic, the liberal son-in-law of Archie Bunker, a conservative blue-collar World War II vet. I read that he was referred to as sort of a lovable bigot in the show.
Yeah. Well, you don't get television like that anymore.
No.
You don't have that sense of, oh God, this guy's so wrong. He's to say those things.
Yes.
And Archie Bunker was that character.
He was.
Yeah.
Reiner's character's nickname, Meathead, given to him by his cantankerous father-in-law, became closely associated with Reiner even after he left the role and established himself as a director. Reflecting on this association, Reiner said, I could win the Nobel Prize, and they'd write, Meathead wins Nobel Prize. And similar to his character, Mike, Reiner was incredibly politically active. His political legacy includes activism to make same-sex marriage a constitutional right. He was a part of an initiative to fund childhood programs with taxes from the sale of tobacco. It's really interesting to analyze how his initial foray into Hollywood not only influenced the rest of his career, but also his personal life and political activism.
He in person, he is who Mike Stivic was on the show.
Exactly.
He really is.
Exactly. Yeah. And just throwing this out there, could someone please write a 2025 remake with a Gen Z Michael Stivic and a boomer Archie Bunker? I just need to know what that would look like.
I think that's got to be in the works.
It's got to be.
Or maybe you should write it.
Oh gosh. Okay. I will try. We'll see how that goes. But after departing the television space, which he would eventually return to several decades later in an acting position, Reiner established himself as an extremely respected director. One of his earliest works being the 1984 mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap.
No, you've seen enough of that one. This is a top to what we use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the
and then
amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it? It's not 10. You see, most blokes are going to be playing at 10. You're on 10 here, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. You're on 10 on your guitar. Where can you go from there? Where?
I don't know.
Nowhere, exactly. What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to 11.
11, exactly. One louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Okay, so This Is Spinal Tap is a mockumentary about a fictional British heavy metal band.
It's genius.
Genius. The movie follows the band Spinal Tap during a disastrous American tour, capturing their over-the-top personalities, clueless decisions, and constant bad luck as they struggle with declining popularity. They face problems like confusing stage props, bizarre album covers, and a long history of drummers who mysteriously die. Much of the humor comes from how seriously the band members take themselves, despite clearly not understanding how ridiculous they are. Most famously shown through their custom amplifiers that go to 11.
It goes to 11. Just wonderful.
Oh, it's the best. Overall, the film is a satire of rock star egos, the music industry, and documentary filmmaking. In This Is Spinal Tap, Rob Reiner brilliantly makes a fake band feel completely real. He films it like a rock documentary with handheld cameras and improvised dialogue that gives the film a spontaneous, really natural feeling. The actors play everything dead serious, even in the most ridiculous moments. So the humor comes from how absurd the situations are, not from over-the-top jokes.
Right.
Even the over-the-top performances and stage mishaps feel believable. Reiner's genius is treating absurdity seriously, creating a film that's both hilarious and shockingly real. And he absolutely pioneered this whole mockumentary genre too.
It was gold. Absolute gold. It was
Gold.
perfect.
So after directing Spinal Tap and Stand By Me, which I'm not going to go into today, but maybe next time,
All right.
Reiner switched gears completely and directed the fantasy adventure comedy, The Princess Bride.
But he gave me this. How old were you? I was 11 years old. When I was strong enough, I dedicated my life to the study of fencing. So the next time we meet, I will not fail. I will go up to the six-fingered man and say, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
So The Princess Bride is an epic adventure framed as a story being read by a grandfather to his sick grandson.
Perfectly done.
It follows Buttercup, a young woman who's kidnapped just before her wedding to the cruel Prince Humperdinck. Her captors, Vizzini, Inigo Montoya, and the gentle giant Fezzik are pursued by the mysterious man in black. One by one, the man in black outwits them, revealing himself to be Wesley, Buttercup's true love, who was thought to be dead. As the story unfolds, Wesley and Buttercup face sword fights, clever battles of wits, deadly creatures, and Prince Humperdinck's schemes. This movie really blends romance, comedy, and adventure, and the film celebrates true love, heroism, and storytelling itself, delivering humor and heart in equal measure. So this was quite the switch up from Spinal Tap in terms of tone.
It really was. It really was.
Yes.
But it was perfection. It was done so well.
Yes, and it's just one of Reiner's incredible talents that he can excel in so many different genres, which we will continue to see as his career moves along. Yeah, but Reiner still does what he does best. Using the structure of a grandfather reading to his grandson allows Reiner to undercut the sweetness of a traditional fairy tale. This sweeping romantic epic story is regularly interrupted by this little boy's sarcastic commentary, and we as an audience are sort of able to live through his reactions. This is a movie that is once so heartfelt and yet so aware of itself, too. Reiner was never afraid to poke fun at his characters. Even though this film came out in 1987, it was a childhood staple for me, and it still continues to its legacy even for kids growing up in 2025, which is just amazing.
It's if you haven't seen it, it's a must-see film.
It's
really,
a must.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just plain good fun, that movie.
Escapism.
Yes.
That's the word I would use. You just escape into the fantasy of the movie. It's
the max.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Perfectly done.
One of Reiner's many talents, beyond the obvious ones, is his ability to get together with amazing collaborators. One of those incredible collaborators being the prolific writer Nora Ephron. Rob and Nora went on to create one of the greatest, and just so happens to be my favorite movie of all time, When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, that's so good.
How about this way? I love that you get cold when it's 71 degrees out. I love that it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking at me like I'm nuts. I love that after I spend a day with you, I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. And I love that you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night. And it's not because I'm lonely, and it's not because it's New Year's Eve. I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
You see? That is just like you, Harry. You say things like that and you make it impossible for me to hate you.
When Harry Met Sally is a romantic comedy that explores whether or not men and women can just be friends. The film follows Harry Burns and Sally Albright over more than a decade, beginning with a chance meeting after college and continues through a series of encounters in New York City. Though their personalities clash, Harry is cynical and blunt, and Rob Reiner has said that the character is very much based after himself. And Sally is optimistic and meticulous, but they gradually form a close friendship while navigating their own failed relationships. As time passes, their bond deepens, raising complicated questions about love, attraction, and timing. Both try to deny their feelings, fearing that romance could ruin their friendship. But eventually, they have to confront what they truly mean to each other. This movie is incredibly sharp, with realistic dialogue, memorable scenes, and it takes an honest look at modern relationships, ultimately suggesting that love often grows out of friendship. When I tell you, I will never get sick of this movie. I love it.
Likewise.
Oh.
It is impossible to not love both of these characters.
Yes.
He makes it absolutely possible. You love them both.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you feel as though you know them too somehow,
Right,
you
right.
know? So I'm not married yet, but when I do get married, my plan is to not have one of those cheesy sort of stock wedding videos that everyone has, but instead I'm going to structure my wedding video in the style of When Harry Met Sally, with older couples talking about their love stories sort of intermixed between the wedding footage. It's going to be a whole production.
So it's totally influenced your life.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'm honestly like sort of more excited about the video than like the wedding itself, but it's you know, it's fine. But going back to the movie, as I mentioned before, this is a film that prioritizes dialogue. This movie is so rich with conversation. It feels like I'm constantly referencing moments from the film to describe things that I observe or experience in real life. And I feel like there's something new you can take away from this film every time you see it.
Right. As I do. I can't see it enough, and every time I see it, I learn something new, or I love something new about it.
By the way, this is a perfect New Year's Eve movie, too.
Yeah, it is.
When you're sitting around New Year's Eve, if you're not out partying, if you're just at home, watch this movie, have it end at midnight when Harry professes his love for Sally. It's the best way to ring in the new year.
Perfection, yeah.
And I want to specifically talk about one of, if not the most iconic scene in the movie, the diner scene, or the I'll have what she's having scene. It is a masterclass in comedic timing. Reiner frames the scene in an almost documentary-style manner, keeping the camera mostly static, which treats Sally's outrageous demonstration of a woman being satisfied by her partner as ordinary behavior and lets the absurdity sort of just happen naturally. By placing the scene in a brightly lit Katz diner in New York, Reiner heightens the stakes by turning this into a public display and giving Sally the upper hand over Harry without needing any dialogue. She's won the argument, you know. He allows Meg Ryan's performance to play out in full, letting the audience feel the awkwardness and escalation, just as Harry does. And Billy Crystal is sort of this like silent surrogate for us. Yeah. Every time the camera cuts to him, you're like, you can see just him like dying inside on his face, like, oh my gosh, please stop. And the payoff comes with perfect timing when Reiner cuts to an older woman played by his real life mother, who delivers the iconic line, I'll have what she's having, in the most earnest way possible. Like, oh, I need to have what she's having.
In the theater, as it happened, the theater bursted out into laughter. I mean, it was the moment.
Oh,
it really
my gosh,
was.
Yes. Yes, and what's so great is this scene could have been cut off so much earlier. But Reiner sort of knew there was another joke in there somewhere. Yeah. And that line became one of the most famous in any movie he ever made. Yeah. Also, side note, this is so New York. As someone who lived in Manhattan for 2 years, I can tell you that sometimes you see a woman hooting and hollering in a deli, and you just say to yourself, well, I guess it's just that kind of day, and you continue eating your sandwich. So while it wasn't Rob's first time adapting a Stephen King book, the next film is definitely one of his standout productions, the psychological horror film known as Misery.
Anyway, my favorite was Rocket Man, and once it was a no-brakes chapter. And the bad guy stuck him in a car on a mountain road and knocked him out and welded the door shut and tore out the brakes and started him to his death. And he woke up and tried to steer and tried to get out, but the car went off a cliff before he could escape. And it crashed and burned, and I was so upset and excited. And the next week, you better believe I was first in line. And they always start with the end of the last week. And there was Rocket Man trying to get out. And here comes the cliff. And just before the car went off the cliff, he jumped free. And all the kids cheered. But I didn't cheer. I stood right up and started shouting, "This isn't what happened last week! Have you all got amnesia? They just cheated us! This isn't fair! He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car!"
Oh my goodness, Kathy Bates.
Is that as magnificent a performance as an actress has ever given in a movie? That is just incredible.
Yes. She is at once so terrifying and also somewhat hilarious in this role. Like the sort of made up cursing that she does is so funny and so quotable too. I saw this interview with Kathy Bates talking about how she's like, people always ask me which one of my characters I relate to the most, and it's Annie Wilkes, and I'm like, that's kind of terrifying to say.
It is.
Please don't say that. And she's like, it's not, about the, murder and torture stuff. It's about her sort of like emotions and how she regulates them. I'm like, okay, Kathy, you're still scaring me though. But I think that's what Rob Reiner films do so successfully. There's an earnestness to them that's always punctuated by comedy. I can at once be so frightened of this woman, but also so easily recognize her humanity sprinkled throughout the film. A few years ago, my aunt broke her leg, and my mom and I went over to hang out with her and cheer her up a little bit. and we ended up watching Misery because there's nothing more immersive than watching this movie when you're actually trapped in bed. And I don't know if that cheered her up, but we had a really good time.
There's a cruel streak in your family. I can see it now. There's slightly. We're gonna cobble you now. Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. It's just fun. It's fine. So for anyone who isn't super keen on the horror or thriller genre, this is a movie about a successful novelist who's injured in a car accident during a snowstorm. He's rescued by Annie Wilkes, a former nurse who claims to be his biggest fan, and Annie brings Paul back to her isolated home and cares for him as he recovers. Paul, played by James Caan, soon realizes that Annie is deeply unstable, especially after she discovers he's killed off her favorite character, Misery Chastain, in his latest book. Furious and obsessed, Annie holds Paul captive and forces him to write a new novel, bringing the character back to life.
She's truly crazy.
She's crazy.
She plays it so well.
Because she plays it so honestly, and it's not so over the top. The calmness is what's so terrifying about it. So as Paul struggles to survive and escape, the film builds an intense suspense through dangerous power dynamics, and it focuses on control and obsession and the terrifying consequences of fandom taken too far. And I think this concept of insane fan culture has only multiplied since the rise of the internet. And this movie is so topical, oddly, in so many ways. So for those of you who didn't read the Stephen King novel, there's some extremely gruesome moments depicted throughout this harrowing story, one of which is when Annie actually cuts off Paul Sheldon's feet. So for those of you who've seen the movie, you'll recall that this sequence is actually depicted in a very different manner. This is where Reiner's amazing directorial abilities come into play. Reiner explained that his decision to change the amputation scene wasn't simply about toning down violence. Instead, he felt strongly about how Paul Sheldon's journey should feel by the end of the story. In the novel, Annie Wilkes literally amputates Paul's feet with an axe and cauterizes the wound, which is so vivid and extremely violent.
Right.
But in contrast, Reiner chose to have Annie hobble Paul by crushing his ankles with a sledgehammer. His reasoning was that Paul goes through intense physical and psychological torment already, and Reiner wanted him to still feel like someone who could move forward and survive the experience as a whole person. Right. Losing his feet entirely, in Reiner's view, would undercut the sense of resilience and recovery.
I love the hobbling instead. I do.
Yes.
I was just now for the first, I did not read the novel, and I thought, wow, they cut his feet off, but I prefer the hobbling.
There's something so twisted about it. Like, I hate to say it, but I think an amputation would be less terrifying in a sense, which I don't know, but just the whole lead up to it where she's putting the block in between his legs and it's cutting back to his face and he's like, please don't, please don't. Yeah. So beyond the physical survival of the character, Reiner felt that the story's impact didn't require the extremely graphic nature of an amputation. He wanted the audience to feel Paul's suffering in captivity and then see him overcome it, rather than being left with this permanent reminder that would kind of overshadow his psychological victory. So the hobbling sequence still conveys horror and brutality without changing the character's prospects after the movie ends.
I could totally see that. I can totally see that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
I think it's such a great choice on the part of Reiner.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reiner's vision still delivers a shocking, memorable moment, but it keeps the character's arc intact and sort of adds balance to the film. It's still horror-filled, but also focuses on story.
Right. His begging her not to do what she's about to do is one-of-a-kind fear in the movie. It really is.
Oh my God. And James Caan is so incredible. I also watched this other interview where James Caan was a very physical, fit kind of, strong guy. And so it was so interesting to trap him in a bed for this movie.
Right.
It emphasizes how vulnerable he was in this situation, because even a big, strong man like him couldn't, stand up to this woman.
Right.
So just 2 years later, Reiner would direct his most commercially successful work, the military courtroom drama, A Few Good Men.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Okay, let me tell you something. Tom Cruise is brave because I would not want to go toe-to-toe with Jack Nicholson in this setting, or pretty much any setting. He kind of scares me, honestly. But that's why he's so good at playing these characters. So the movie A Few Good Men is a courtroom drama centered on justice, duty, and a moral responsibility within the U.S. military. Now, my dad and brother are attorneys, and my other brother is just about to start law school. So we're a big courtroom drama kind of family, and this has to be one of the best, if not the best there is, truly.
And cast so perfectly.
Perfectly.
Everyone in their roles was perfectly cast. And I again, we're talking about Rob Reiner. Each one of those characters directed so perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere that Jack Nicholson only had like 5 minutes of screen time in the entire movie, but stole the entire show. He did. Because truly, this movie, you watch for that scene. The you can't handle the truth scene. It's the best. So the film follows Lieutenant Daniel Kaffee, who's played by Tom Cruise, a Navy lawyer more comfortable negotiating plea deals than arguing in court, who is assigned to defend 2 Marines accused of murdering a fellow Marine at Guantanamo Bay. The Marines claim they were only following orders under an unofficial disciplinary command known as a Code Red. So as Kaffee and his co-counsel investigate the case, they uncover a culture of rigid authority and secrecy. The trial builds towards this tense confrontation with the Marines' commanding officer, Colonel Nathan Jessup, who is played by Jack Nicholson, producing lines like, "Are we clear? Crystal." And according to my attorney family members, a lawyer causing someone to scream, "You can't handle the truth," would probably be considered badgering the witness, but whatever. It's great cinema. I don't care.
Right. So that moment, and the 2 minutes leading up to that, where he's presenting the evidence to him, and the looks on each of the characters' faces, both Tom Cruise's character and Jack Nicholson's character, as they're contemplating whether it's the next question or the next answer, is brilliant.
Yes.
It's brilliant.
Yes, and Rob Reiner tells the story of when he was directing Jack Nicholson. He was like, "Jack, do you want me to, shoot your coverage first or kind of get everybody else?" He goes, "Oh, do everybody else and then come back to me." And then, but Jack Nicholson, with every take with everyone else, was doing the same exact performance you see in the movie every time. And Rob was kind of concerned. He was like, "Don't you want to save some of this for when we're actually filming you?" And he goes, "No, Rob, I love to act. I don't get an opportunity to do this very often." And then Rob turned the camera and he did this incredible performance that is just iconic.
Which is why he's Jack Nicholson.
Yes, exactly. That's why he's Jack Nicholson. So this movie explores themes of honor, obedience, truth, and the cost of unquestioned authority, accumulating in a dramatic examination of what justice really means. So Rob Reiner demonstrates remarkable versatility and his ability to shape tone and pacing across different genres, as we've seen through all these movies. And when Harry Met Sally, he focuses on intimate human interactions and comedic timing. He uses restrained observational camera work, letting actors' performances and naturalistic dialogue carry the humor and emotional weight. And by contrast, in A Few Good Men, Reiner shifts his approach to heightened suspense and dramatic intensity in a very dialogue-heavy courtroom setting. Reiner's directorial skill lies in balancing realism with heightened emotional stakes, keeping the audience engaged in suspense rather than comedy. So the contrast of these films really highlights his range. He can extract subtle humor and nuance from everyday settings, and then also excel in thrilling high-stakes tension. And across genres, his strengths remain consistent. He trusts actors and emphasizes character-driven storytelling. But the techniques he employs are tailored to the unique demands of each story. This adaptability cements Reiner as a director capable of making both the laughter and the tension feel earned and deeply human. So as we start to wrap things up today, I keep coming back to this idea of endings because endings matter. They're what give stories their weight. They're what make us sit. They're what make us sit with what we've just experienced long after the credits roll. And what's remarkable about Rob Reiner's career is that even though so many of his films explore darkness, fear, and heartbreak, they never leave us feeling empty. Whether it's the terrifying captivity of misery, or the romantic uncertainty of When Harry Met Sally, or the playful absurdity of This Is Spinal Tap, there's always something deeply human at the center of the story. Reiner understands that people are complicated, that love is awkward, and that laughter sometimes is the only way through it. Across every genre he touched, from courtroom drama to romantic comedy to fantasy adventure, Rob Reiner never treated his audience like they were less than. He trusted us to feel the joke without being told it was funny. He trusted us to sit in discomfort. And that's maybe why his films have lasted. Because even now, decades later, people my age are still discovering The Princess Bride for the first time. People are still quoting When Harry Met Sally, and as if it came out yesterday. And A Few Good Men still makes audiences lean forward in their seats, and Misery still gets under your skin. There's something so comforting about knowing that long after moments pass, after trends fade, after people leave us, the work remains. And Rob Reiner's legacy isn't just a list of iconic films. It's the fact that his work continues to connect people across generations. And although his life was, the ending of his life was abrupt and tragic, Rob Reiner will be forever immortalized through his art. His films remind us that stories don't end when the lights come up, and they continue to live on. Thank you so much for listening today. This has been a celebration of Rob Reiner, whose work proves that heart, humor, and humanity never go out of style. I'm Lauren Nesser. Thanks, Ed. Back to you.
Brilliantly done. Brilliantly done, Lauren. Thank you for that. And again, as Rob Reiner, and we talked about this magnificent life that he led, this magnificent eye that he had for humanity.
Yes.
And in all forms. And if you were to take For a Few Good Men or Misery and juxtapose them to This Is Spinal Tap, you would never guess that was the same director.
Never.
In a million years.
Never.
Because each subject, each moment is so different.
Absolutely.
And he treated it as such. I
He
love
did.
that. And thank you for bringing that to light.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it was great. Thank you again. That was Lauren Nesser, and I have a feeling you'll be hearing more from her in 2026. Thank you so much, Lauren. All right, 12:38 the time, 22 minutes in front of 1 o'clock. It's the Voice of Laguna.